After all the tumult, after all the setbacks, after all the talk, finally, there seems to be some movement at Byju's, because it looks like there could possibly be an independent board committee to be set up to advise the CEO of Byju's, Byju Raveendran. And that came out of the EGM of Byju, which was held yesterday evening, the extraordinary general meeting of Byju's, a resolution taken where Byju's will appoint this board advisory committee, as it's called, BAC, which will have independent directors on it, and they will be advising the CEO on everything up until governance and governance structures within Byju's. We have my colleague and friend Amit joining us on the broadcast this morning with more on that. Amit, talk to us. Even as is talk of some shareholders demanding the resignation of Byju Raveendran and then the placement of an interim CEO, we're hearing that, but there's no confirmation on that. Even as that talk continues, there's now this new board advisory committee. My only question is, this is again appointed by Byju's, isn't it?
You said some movement. The operative word, remember, will be some. Is that enough? We do not know. Yesterday we spoke about, Karthik mentioned, who will tell him to step down. He is not stepping down. The stakeholders are questioning the 910 million of the 1.2 billion loan, where it is gone. He's committed to them to meet the deadline of the 2022 audit by September and the 2023 audit by December this year. He's committed to them. This one, he's still the CEO. These people are independent directors with good reputations who will advise him. What comes to mind is something like in political parties we have Margdarshak Mandal. So this is what. So my suspicion is still, and let me wear the hat of a fiction writer. He has something to hide, which probably goes deeper, and they are shy of basically revealing it. So okay. He's sticking to his chair.
Okay. But Karthik, I'm sure you also heard this entire talk about at that extraordinary general meeting, there were a section of shareholders who apparently demanded Byju Raveendran's resignation and the appointment of an interim CEO. There are no confirmation on these reports. It's a pure speculation, so to speak.
In its tweet, in fact, Byju's has denied it. Byju's has said that there is no question of any change in leadership right now as we speak.
Right.
And yes, I think the pressure from the shareholders, rightly so, resulted in the formation of at least this idea of a BAC, a Board Advisory Council, and committee, in fact. And the idea there, of course, has been that that Byju's is going to finally take charge of some of the misgivings that it has seen itself in the midst of. And these account on, of course, the books not being audited being the crucial point number one, the topmost issue in the corporate governance chart of Byju's, and it's a fairly large list there. So of course, books not being audited, like Amit mentioned, FY22 books likely to be audited by end of September, FY23 books likely to be audited by December end. And then, in addition to that, the $1.2 billion loan, negotiations, according to Byju Raveendran, and what he told the shareholders is that negotiations are on between the lenders and Byju's, and he has said that none of the two parties are interested in taking this battle to a lawsuit into courts, and some sort of an amicable negotiation and a potential roadmap for repayment of that loan should take place. I think the shareholders' pressure on getting on perhaps pressurizing Byju Raveendran to step aside, step down, make way for an interim CEO, have resulted in the formation of this BAC. And I think the founder CEO is publicly at least open to getting an independent set of board members from diverse industries, diverse expertise to sit on the board and act as an advisor to Byju Raveendran himself. I think some sort of a measure to allay the fears of shareholders and investors alike that, we are going to take our corporate governance.
Is that some going to be enough, Karthik? I mean, the operative word is some. Is this going to be enough at this stage?
Yeah, well, I think some is definitely better than nothing. Okay. Even if this is an eyewash, even if this is something that that has fraudulent intentions, I don't want to speculate on whether those are fraudulent indeed or not. But even if the company has something to hide, and even if the company realizes that whatever it is hiding will someday be out in the public, at least you're taking one step forward and getting independent board members to act as advisors to the board, to Byju's, and help the company navigate through this difficult territory it finds itself in.
Right, Amit. All of this coming out of an extraordinary general meeting, or EGM, that Byju's held, chaired by, of course, Byju Raveendran. There is going to be another extraordinary general meeting to be held 3 weeks from now, by which time this so-called board advisory committee, or BAC, has to be appointed.
Yeah. See, there is trouble, and I believe they are buying time. They have an IPO underway. If that goes through well, I think their troubles will be tided over. But I believe they are buying time for now, and that is why these measures. So some are definitely better than nothing. And if the IPO goes well and they are able to raise their next round of funding, I think their troubles will go away, at least for some time to come.
Really, Karthik? Are you looking at a stage where there could be the great escape for Byju's from all of its troubles? Is there how serious do you think that possibility is at this stage?
Bleak. I doubt anything is going to come out right now. But I would hold on to, again, my speculation until at least end of September, end of December, by when the books get audited. So that way, at least we know, and the investors know, and the shareholders know where the money came from, where the money went, and what really happens to the loan book, the possibility of whatever loan Byju has, $1.2 billion on its books to be repaid. I think all of those doubts will get clarified only once the audited financial statements come out and I doubt too much of that is going to come out in the public. Remember, it's not a publicly listed company. There is no guideline or rule asking startups or unlisted companies to release their financial disclosures.
True.
So I don't know how much of that would come out for public good, but at least these financial audits will have to be shared with investors, with the board, independent or not very independent. We'll have to see again who constitutes that board. But the shareholders, the investors, and hopefully some of us should be able to get access to those numbers to make some sense of when these miseries are likely to end or explode even more.
Now, and in that sense, the chances of Byju's getting fresh funding, which could be a major balm on all its troubles. From that perspective, who is going to be willing to pump in a huge round of funding into Byju's, considering the situation it is in? That's my only question.
You're right. And in fact, about a week back, Krishna, we were discussing that while this $1.2 billion loan continues to stand on the books of Byju's was looking to speak to new investors, not existing investors, new investors, to raise another $1 billion worth, which would generate some cash flow. But again, around that time, we saw Process downvaluing its own stake in Byju's to about 1/4 of the valuation at which it was picked up. So the point being that even if Byju's was to sell cheap and raise some capital, that capital is only going to help fulfill a very short-term cash infusion issue and not really help the company get out of the troubled waters it's in.
Right. So a long road ahead for Byju's if it wants to get some semblance of sanity back at the company, isn't it, Amit? The only thing I can even think of at this stage is all the people working at Byju's. There are so many jobs that Byju's still provides. After having fired over 3,500 people, there's still so many thousands are still employed at Byju's. And also, with every passing day, the ripple effect that this will have on the rest of the Edtech sector and the jobs in the Edtech sector, Amit.
I'm an optimist over here, so and I hope this board advisory committee, BAC, restructures their company, gives them something new on the drawing board. And Edtech is a new sector, whatever you like, whatever we may say. These guys are early entrants into the market.
The first movers.
I'm sure these people will find something up their sleeve to basically excite new customers. And if they do, the balm that you're talking about will be more than enough, and they will have new rounds of funding, and they will be basically poster boys for the Edtech sector, as we all want them to be, because they are the first movers here.
Right. So some optimism is always good, especially first thing in the morning. Thank you, Amit, for providing that much needed shot of optimism. We continue to hope that the jobs, I would personally continue to hope the jobs will be saved, more jobs will be added in the edtech sector going forward. It continues to be a source of major employment in the country. That's the hope over here. Let's see what happens.